Hi everyone, this is Kshitij and welcome to this webinar on how ML and AI can power small business applications. In this webinar, we'll start with a small introduction on Pitney Bowes and then talk about who these small businesses are, what applications they are looking for, and how Algorithmia's AI algorithms can be leveraged to build smart applications for these small businesses. Finally, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So for today's webinar, our speakers are Shashidhar Akiraju, who's a Senior Director for Small Business Applications in Pitney Bowes, then Yashwant Gangwar, who's a Distinguished Engineer again at Pitney Bowes, and finally John, who's a Developer Advocate and a full stack developer at Algorithmia. Over to you, Shashi.
Perfect. Hi, guys. Welcome to this webinar again. What I did want to spend a few minutes on is give a flavor of who our customers are. But before I do that, I do want to talk quickly about Pitney Bowes. Uh, for those of you who haven't had a chance to look, Pitney Bowes is a 100-year-old global technology company. We offer innovative products and solutions that enable commerce in the areas of customer information management, location intelligence, customer engagement, and mailing and shipping solutions, which is really our core. Uh, we serve 90% of the Fortune 500 businesses and more than 1 million small and medium businesses, on the other end of the spectrum. So both large and small businesses. The small and medium businesses are really the crux of what we want to talk about today. Uh, and let me start by just painting a profile of what these SMB customers for us look like. Like I mentioned, we have a million plus of them, so they do come in a fairly distributed vertical and segment. But the few that I want to highlight today are in the verticals of legal services, insurances, healthcare professionals, banking, real estate, and education. Uh, just to give a better flavor of who these businesses are, think of them as businesses with about 500,000 or more yearly revenue. This is USD. And about a business employee size of somewhere between 20 and 100. So it's really not a really small mom and pop store, but it's an established business, that's now trying to be productive by using technology to automate some of their operations, and functions within their office. So what I did want to spend some time on is really to understand the psyche of our customers. So, these SMB customers, the small and medium businesses, what are their problems? What are the problem statements that they have that we want to try and solve through apps? As we try and build technology use cases using machine learning and artificial intelligence, the libraries that we'll talk about later in this. Uh, so let's start with the small retailer. So, think of retailers who today sell on Amazon, Etsy, eBay. Most likely, a small manufacturing unit or someone who's trying to put together uh, custom retail gifts, novelties, uh, or even accessories, I think, for a whole lot of technology use cases. So these retailers are essentially, actively looking to grow and get new customers across their merchandise that they have, and they're also looking to automate away some of the functions like order management, inventory management, as well as think of how they do consolidation across all of the different workflows in their business. If you think of healthcare professionals, as you would, uh, you want to you want them to be able to spend time on working with their patients and engaging, and thinking about health of their patients. Uh, their problem statements usually are in the frame of reference of invoicing and billing, appointment management and schedule management. And once they have those problems out of their way that apps can solve, they can focus on uh, really treating their patients and working with them. Uh, the professional services business is, think of insurance customers, banking, lawyers, uh, where again the primary use case for them to automate are around document management, are around uh, scheduling, visitor management, and all of the other good use cases that can help automate away part of their daily workflows. Uh, More broadly, SMBs today have been sold on the promise of technology solving for a whole lot of their, manual, repetitive workflows. And what we are really looking for are smarter solutions built through machine learning and AI to really help them unlock new revenue streams and focus on what they're best at. We can go to the next slide. So what I wanted to quickly run you guys through is as a quick summary video. This will go on for a couple of minutes that showcases how we're looking to use apps to drive our business.
The Pitney Bowes Send Pro C Series all-in-one technology for mailing and shipping. Smart, simple, accurate. We are building an ecosystem of intelligent applications for our C-Series device to assist small and medium business customers in their end-to-end shipping, mailing, and addressing needs. These applications will be available on our Pitney Bowes App Store. Let's take a look at a few of these applications. Informed delivery for businesses. The United States Postal Service is doing something new and digital with the mail. For the first time, small businesses to preview the exterior address side of letter-sized mail and track packages at one convenient location. Business owners can now track incoming packages and payments. Say, for example, if you're an insurance agent, your business requires you to deliver mails on specific dates. ShipMinders will save time and money by using your calendar to create a daily shipping list for you. It recommends the optimized shipping method to save your shipping costs. Click once to integrate it with your Google Calendar. Get recommendations and print shipping labels from Calendar of Events. On the other hand, if you're a retailer, you know how difficult it is to grapple with issues like returns and inability to update customers about their order status. Now, with Shipping Companion, you can take such worries in your stride. This app helps retailers, wholesalers, and e-commerce firms at every stage of their shipping cycle by tracking all your shipments at one place in real time. Same-day delivery app enables simplified on-demand deliveries for SMBs on your Send Pro C-Series device. Same-day deliveries are as simple as sign up, enter destination details, and choose a suitable delivery option from a suite of multiple peer-to-peer shipping services. The app also allows you to track your package to your final destination. For small businesses, the Fresh Desk Companion app integrates your Fresh Desk customer support right into your C-Series device, thereby allowing you to service customers faster. With this app, you can now view and update customer support tickets directly from the C-Series console, improving support productivity. The app automatically creates tickets for Send Pro shipping alerts, so you can proactively communicate with your customers. As an e-commerce merchant, you sell your products on websites and marketplaces. Ordoro lets you consolidate your orders from all platforms and manage them in a single view. With just one click, download your orders and print shipping labels directly from your C-Series device. Pitney Bowes is bringing together an ecosystem of developers, startups, and enterprises to create digital-first solutions for SMBs. The Pitney Bowes platform, perfected over decades, is now open to bring the best of innovation to our SMB customers.
All right. Again, that was just a flavor of how we're taking apps developed to our customers through Pitney Bowes App Store. And if I had to use this slide just to talk about a summary of what we talked about, it is really that we have an open Android platform, the device that you looked at in the video, and what we want to really do is build an ecosystem of apps and connect the 1 million SMB customers and all of their problems with app solutions built by 1 million plus app developers. I do want to also take this time just to mention that we had our last hackathon late last year in Q4, and we saw quite a few apps that leveraged machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms, either through APIs for data or through libraries with partners such as Algorithmia. And I'm quite looking forward to hearing how we can use these libraries to build apps that are faster, more scalable. I also look forward to seeing some amazing apps solving real-world business problems for SMB businesses coming out of this group that's listening in. And with that, I do want to hand over to John from Algorithmia to talk more about their capabilities and how easy it is to use existing algorithms from Algorithmia around artificial intelligence and build your apps. Over to you, John.
Alrighty, thanks very much. So I am here to just show you around kind of what Algorithmia can do and what we are. So Algorithmia is a marketplace with about 5,000 microservices in it. Some of those are developed in-house. A lot of those are developed by academics or external researchers and brought into our system. They cover everything from machine learning to various individual utilities, and they're really easy to use from any language. One of the things we base our entire system on is that there's a simple common syntax. No matter what API you're using and no matter what language you're calling it from, it always looks the same. So it's very easy to integrate into whatever you're building. We are also a platform for hosting serverless functions. So if you got something in Java, JavaScript, Python 2 or 3, R, Ruby, Rust, or Scala, a lot of times you can simply copy your code right out of your current environment, drop it into our web IDE or Git repo, and hit publish, and you're ready to go. Your algorithm is now running and available for other people to use. You can even utilize GPUs in a serverless environment, which no other provider does right now. We have a 15 millisecond total overhead, which is pretty small, and a maximum runtime per function call of 55 minutes. So you can actually run some pretty long running processes on our system. And it costs about 1,000th of a cent per compute second, and that's billed to the caller, the person who's actually executing your code. Unlike something like Lambda, where you have to stand that up on your own billing account and then figure out another billing mechanism on top of it. And of course, because the syntax is common both on the client side and on the server side, you can build on top of other people's functions. So if someone else out there has a cool classifier that does one thing you like, you can wrap some more code around it and utilize their code inside yours, right inside the serverless platform seamlessly. And then lastly, we won't go into this now, but for large enterprises that want either a private cloud deploy or an on-premise deploy, we do support that, where we take our entire system for running serverless functions and make it available inside their own private cloud. So that company can now automate the deployment and the discovery of machine learning models across their own enterprise. But what I want to start by doing here is showing you what it's like to actually use one of our microservices. So I'll repeat this promo code again at the end, but if you feel like following along, you can go to algorithmia.com and use this promo code PB18. And what that's going to do is drop an extra 500,000 credits into your account on top of the standard 5,000 credits you'll get automatically refilled every month for free. So you'll just head to algorithmia.com, note that little promo code drop down at the bottom, click that, and that's where you're going to drop in your promo code. Pick any username you like and any password you like and hit create your account. Once you've done that, you'll see at the top there's an AI marketplace link. If you click on that, you're going to get a list of those 5,000 algorithms that are available for you to execute. Now, they're broken down by category at the top. There's also tags. You can also search for them in that little search box in the upper left. And one thing that's unique about our system is all those individual algorithms are actually rated. So you can see which ones are top rated. You can see which ones are called the most. You can see which ones have been added. And clicking into any of those individual algorithms is going to give you a description of what it does. So there's a brief description right at the top. There's a little docs tab where it gives you a full description of all the inputs and the outputs of each function. And then there's a run example right at the bottom. So when you find an algorithm that you think is going to be useful for you, you can just drop whatever input you want into that input box on the left and hit that run example button. And it's actually going to execute it right there for you so you can see what the output is on your own data. So this gives you a really fast way to go and test out these different algorithms without ever having even downloaded anything to your computer or installed anything. Now, when you scroll down to the bottom of that page for any individual algorithm, you're also going to see cut and paste code in a variety of languages. So you can actually simply run a curl directly from your console. You can grab some JavaScript if you're a web developer. You can grab some Python and drop that into your script. And you'll notice the syntax is pretty similar across all of those. And I can actually demonstrate for you what that looks like. So I've got here one of our algorithms. This is sentiment analysis. And what sentiment analysis does is it simply takes some piece of text and it says, hey, is that generally speaking a positive or a negative statement? So if I say, hey, I really like Algorithmia and execute that, I get a pretty positive statement value over here. But I'm not restricted to just testing it out here. I can actually go and grab this Python code down here. There's a nice little copy button to make my life easy. I can step out to a console. And one thing to take note of is at the top of each language installation box, there's a little install tab that just is a convenience for how to install our client library there. Now you can access everything we have through raw post if you want to, but using our client libraries just makes it very easy to use this simple syntax. So pip install Algorithmia. Of course, it's already installed on my system, so we can see the requirements already satisfied. I'm going to start up a Python shell here and simply paste in that code. And we can see there's an input document here saying what's the value I'm going to be testing, my client key for billing purposes, the algorithm that I'm executing, and then I'm going to pipe in that input and get back from our system right away a result. Hey, that's a pretty positive statement right there. Oh, sorry, there we go. There's the actual sentiment value. So I can do that for any of my algorithms. Now to give you one use case example, so analyzing sentiment of customer feedback, which I just showed you, positive or negative statements. The input is well described here. It takes a document and it takes the text of a message. Notably, it also has a list option. So I could send in several documents all at the same time and get back an array of their sentiment values. So I don't have to make lots of excessive API calls. There's our Python code sample that we just saw. And then if I'm going to use that in a production script, a typical workflow I might use is maybe I want to know, I'm looking at my chat logs for the past history, or I'm looking at how people have reacted to my customer help. And I've got all of that data either in a database or in a chat API, such as say Intercom. I can grab each of those values out of the database or out of the API. I can send each one of those to the sentiment analysis system or send them in batches. And then I can do things like start correlating, hey, does this operator tend to get negative or positive reviews? When people are talking about this particular product, do they tend to be happy or sad about that product? I can even use it in real time to observe conversations that are currently taking place and find out whether or not I should be reacting differently to them. So just as one very simple example, we went and we grabbed an off-the-shelf chatbot tool. We happen to use rundexter.com, but this could be integrated into anything. And what rundexter does is it allows me a simple way to create an interaction with a client. Now, these are descriptive statements. So if the client mentions some particular keyword, I react with a certain piece of the script. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to alter that a little. I'm going to actually inject some artificial intelligence into that automated conversation. So the syntax for Dexter is a little bit odd here, but it should be possible to decipher. What I'm simply going to do is when the user gives me some input, I'm going to send a post to Algorithmia asking for that sentiment analysis API. I'm going to send it my authorization code, and I'm going to send it the body of the document. And the body I'm going to send is simply whatever input the user has given me in that chat interaction. And I'm going to get back from it a value, which is how positive or negative that statement is. So simply testing that out, I can see, okay, if I say this is amazing, I get back a value which is pretty positive. If I say, hey, this is terrible, I get back a value which is negative. Once I've gone through and tested that, then I start integrating it into an actual conversation. So if I have a script, which when they say, hey, what are your hours? It says we're open Monday to Friday, 8 to 6. And they say, that's terrible. My script can now notice that that's a very negative statement and try to appease them, try to say, hey, I'm maybe not doing a good job of fixing the problem. Should I give you a call or something? And then at that point, I would transfer the chat over to a human operator because I realized that the user is getting irritated by the chat script and it's not satisfying their needs. Now, this is one simple use case, but of course, I could go much, much further with this. I could add other algorithms for keyword extraction where it automatically figures out which topic they're mentioning. So even if I don't have an exact keyword match for what they're asking about, AI can figure out what the topic is that they're interested in and still map them to the correct response. I could have image recognition. So if they send in an image of one of my products, it'll figure out what that product is and again direct them to the proper portion of the chat script and so on. There's thousands and thousands of natural language processing algorithms out there that you could inject into this type of chat. Now, if you're not a software developer, if you're not a coder, or if you just want to try this out in a non-code environment, I also want to point you to a cool little add-on that somebody built, which is our Google Sheets plugin. And you can find that at bit.ly/sheets-AI. And if you go there, what you'll find is a Google Sheet that you can then make a copy of. And once you do that, it gives you direct access to many of our algorithms right from within a Excel style context. So now I can take a bunch of information that I have in some business environment. I've got, say, a list of email addresses, and I can say, I want to inject an algorithm here. And I'll pick there on the right, I'll pick email validation. And when I do that, it drops in a little function that you can see at the top of the page here, which just calls Algorithmia's email validator and says, puts right in the output box there, hey, yes, that is a valid email address. I can simply cut and paste that down on all of them and extract in real time what emails in that list are valid and which ones are not, and then use that to call down my contact list. And again, I can do this with any data, with any Algorithmia algorithm that I want to run. So now I'm no longer limited to just writing code. I can actually give this to someone in a business environment who's not a software developer, and they can utilize machine learning directly out of it. So here's a few of my favorite algorithms that you might be interested in playing with. Obviously, there's many more, but just to give you an idea of things that I tend to use on a common basis. Parsing McParseface on the left is something that'll break down a sentence for you into all of its parts of speech. And so you can use this to, say, extract the nouns from a sentence or understand which verbs or adjectives they're using in it so that I can figure out what the actual meaning of the sentence is and what I might want to do next. Sentiment analysis we just saw. Auto tag will automatically extract keywords from text and figure out what the user is talking about. And it does that with a broader understanding of the English language. So it's not simply a frequency, but it actually understands what words are meaningful in the English language and which ones are not, and which ones to ignore. Analyze tweets is similar to sentiment analysis, but it actually goes out and it scrapes Twitter for a bunch of information. It gets you back sentiment, but then it also gets you keyword extractions and other information. Or summarize URL, which you can use to point to the web page and get back a one-paragraph summary about what that web page represents in a human readable format. So now you can generate auto summarizations of, say, entire websites if you want to. On the right, I've listed a few of the image algorithms I really like. Colorful image colorization is one of our favorites. You can take a black and white image and it will automatically colorize it even though it's never seen it before. This works pretty well, but the quality does vary depending on whether it's seen photos of a similar type before or not. So try it out on your data set and see how it performs. Nudity detection, I2V, is an excellent algorithm for making sure that the content your users upload to a forum or to some other publicly facing image source is safe and is actually something you would want to show in public. Face recognition you can use to train and recognize individual human faces. So you could do something like create a camera interaction where someone can walk into a room and it'll automatically recognize whether or not they're an employee of that organization and let them in or not. Or you could use it to look at your user base and see if you know them already. Emotion recognition allows you to look at a photo of a face and figure out what emotion that individual is feeling. So you can do something like hook up, say, a camera on a cell phone app to see whether or not the user is enjoying their experience with the application you've built. And object detection COCO will go through an image and find in a data set of thousands and thousands of different objects, actually identifying things in the frame. So it can see in this photo on the bottom that there's two people walking side by side, that there's a bus in the background, and so on. So stepping out of using microservices, which we've just seen, you also have the option to create a microservice. And when you do that, what you are doing is you're putting code onto our servers, which is going to be executed in that same way that you've just seen. So I might have already written something in my favorite language, whatever it is, but I might need the user to execute it in a different environment. For example, I've written a fairly complex R script, which makes use of the statistical packages in R, but I want that user to execute it from a web page or from a simple Python script, and I don't want them to have to install R and all of the relevant packages onto their system. Well, what I do is I just take my R algorithm, I upload that code into Algorithmia's servers, I declare what dependency packages it needs, and then I publish it, and then the user can use that service from anywhere, from any language at any time. Everything about that is going to execute on our servers, so it's not going to create any CPU load on the end user's machine. They can now do something fairly powerful, even though they're accessing it from a low power device. There's GPUs available on the server, and we allow many, many parallel executions. So you can have tens of thousands of people simultaneously using your code with no noticeable slowdown. And when you create those algorithms, you have your options. You can either keep them completely private, so maybe you're using them only for yourself or only within your organization, or you can choose to make them publicly available. And if you choose to make them publicly available, you have the option of simply allowing the execution to be public, or if you like, you can also make it open source so people can see your code. And you have your option to either make it free or to charge a royalty on top of each execution. And if you do charge a royalty, every time someone else calls that algorithm, those credits go back into your account and can be cashed out when you reach a certain level. Now you can also, of course, combine with other algorithms. So as a simple example, if someone out there has built an algorithm which can identify what type of fruit a particular photo is, and another person has written an algorithm which can identify what type of vegetable a particular photo is, I can then write about 4 lines of code to encapsulate the two of them, and now someone can give me a photo and I can tell them it's either a fruit or a vegetable and which one it is by simply calling out to those other algorithms and combining their output. So I can do that. I can also, of course, encapsulate my own very complex or secret logic that I wouldn't want to actually ship out to a client machine, because then I can have that completely private on Algorithmia's servers so people can only execute it. They can never actually see the code. The syntax is going to be exactly the same, whether you're calling from a local environment or whether you're calling someone else's algorithm from within your own microservice that you've just created. Just to give you a very quick walkthrough of what that looks like, when you hop onto algorithmia.com again, instead of going to the AI marketplace, now what you do is you click that plus in the upper right corner. That's going to give you an option to create a new algorithm. You can give it any name you like. And you'll notice that it's prefixed by your user account. So in my case, I'm JPEG, so I see algo:JPEG and then the name of the algorithm I'm creating. Pick which language you want to write it in, whether or not it needs internet access, whether or not it needs GPUs, etc. And when you're ready, you create your algorithm. Now, once you've done that, you have the option of either Git cloning it, because every new algorithm you create gets an automatic Git repo in our servers. So you can clone that down and then use your own local IDE to edit that code. Or you can choose to use our web IDE, which just brings up an interface where you can simply cut and paste and it'll do syntax checking and the like right in real time on the web for you. Once you've put in your code, simply hit the compile button in the upper right. That makes it run in our servers. And then once that's done, you immediately can test it out on the console at the bottom. So in this particular case, I've just written a very simple hello world algorithm. I'll put in my name and it'll echo back to me, hello, John. Obviously, that would include much more complex code in most cases. Lastly, I hit the publish button in the upper right, and I have all those options. Do I want to make it public or do I want to make it private? Do I want to put a royalty charge on top of this or make it free for everyone to use? And note that you also get to set a new version number. So every time I publish a new piece of code, it gets a new version number. And that means that I can guarantee that my code isn't going to break people's external dependencies in the future, because they can always go back and reference an earlier version of my code if they need to. And that gives me the flexibility to change it in the future however I want without worrying about damaging running apps. Once I'm done, I hit publish. And that makes this then available for other people to execute if I've chosen to make it public. I get the same input and output box, someone hits run, and now the code that I have just written is executing on Algorithmia's servers. Again, they get those down at the bottom, different language options. They can pick curl, JavaScript, Python, etc. Copy and paste that hook, and boom, someone else is running my code right away. So this is a quick wrap up. If you want to see more demos, head over to demos.algorithmia.com. I've got a bunch of really cool stuff there, including some fairly complex stuff like how to colorize entire videos, for example, or recognize objects in a video stream. Also some time series information, which will be really cool. Don't forget to use that promo code at algorithmia.com if you do try us out. So that's PB18, and that's going to dump an extra $50 of credits into your account. And lastly, if you've got any other questions beyond this webinar, feel free to hit me up anytime. I'm jpeck@algorithmia.com. Or if you go to the algorithmia.com website, in the lower right corner, you'll see there's a little intercom chat. Feel free to click on that and just ask for me. And with that, I'll hand it back to my colleagues. Thank you.
Yeah, so hi, this is Yashwant. So I think thanks, John, for showing how easy it is to use AI and machine learning algorithm using the Algorithmia marketplace. Let me give you a small demo on how these great algorithms can be used to create an application for small business. So in today's world, social media provides a powerful tool for outreach. Even some small business have started utilizing the power of social media. In the age of Yelp and Google, online reviews and the feedback has become more important to capture new customers. So like take an example, right? These days, whenever we go to any restaurant or any new place, we take a look at the reviews, right? So social media reviews have become really, really important. And then managing the online presence for SMBs have always been a struggle. So using the power of Twitter APIs and power of Algorithmia's sentiment analysis API, we created a cool demo to showcase. So basically, I created a small Android app which basically scans for Twitters for an handle called My Cool Store. So I just click on scan social media. So just to showcase what it is, I've created an example store handle, and it has a bunch of tweets. So if I switch back, you can see that I got the post. I can see 2 positive posts, 2 negative posts. Sorry, I think 1 negative post and 1 neutral post. So all this scoring is coming from Algorithmia's systems, and we are leveraging the same to show the insights to an SMB user, right? So if let's say I am a store owner and I am worried about my online reputation, and I want to manage that. So this gives you insights on what people are writing about my store and helps manage them better. So that's, I think, what I've used in this app is, again, so Twitter APIs. We are using Twitter's SDK to fetch the results from all these APIs, all the tweets for this handle, and then we are loading them and pushing them for sentiment analysis to Algorithmia. So literally, what we are doing is that fetching all the tweets for this store and then running it through Algorithmia's sentiment analysis and creating a score. So just see the simplicity on how easily we are able to create an application which gives power to manage the social media presence. And then as an store owner, right? So as an SMB customer, I can see what people are saying about the business brand on the social media channel. Do market research on how people feel about competitor. So I didn't demo that, we didn't build it, but literally, if I know my competitors, I can get how their reputation is and their product offerings are, and analyze the impact of marketing campaigns. So let's say if I tie up with any marketing campaign and I want to see the impact it is having on my digital or social media presence, that's what it does. So as I mentioned, what I've been using is fetching the tweets for the store, running individually to Algorithmia's APIs, and just using that data to showcase these. So we use Algorithmia's REST-based APIs as in core Java implementation in the Android, and we are just using the REST implementation here. Uh, the number which we receive, the sentiment score which we get from Algorithmia. So I think just for demo purposes, we are multiplying it by 50, and we are basically using it to identify what is a bad score for me versus what is a good score for me. And then I think to showcase the really how we can manage the action, that let's say if somebody has done given a bad review, right? So like, for example, this review is bad. I can do some progress, some action items like reaching out to the customer, responding them, and manage what kind of response you would like to give. So then I think adding these additional dimension to this is that using Twitter, we get the location address as well. So latitude and longitude corresponding to that tweet, and using that we can define a pattern of places where the bad reviews are coming from. So I think this will go for an SMB which has multiple locations, and you can see that what all places the bad reviews are coming from, and then I think you can manage and reply on the tweets on itself. So basically, this app can be used to search social media posts. So I think the same thing can be extended. I gave an example of Twitter. The same thing can be extended to search on Google reviews, Facebook, and I think we can literally scan through these data sets and run the sentiments over there. We showed the calculation of the sentimental score, detect social media incident reporting, and generate alerts. We can summarize the sentimental metrics, and then viewing the post of the sentiment. So I think that's basically it. So you can see how easily the APIs of Algorithmia helped us create a very simple but yet a powerful application just by merging two APIs to create an online presence application. So I think on the same line, we have a bunch of other use cases, which I think as a hacker, as I think John mentioned, and I think Sasi also mentioned it briefly about the upcoming hackathon. So these are some target use cases which I think you guys can focus on if you are planning to join the hackathon. So AI for competitive analysis, I think I gave an example of if you want to see how my store social score versus how somebody else's my competition's social score, and the same AI can be used to do more business insights. Then I think bot-powered customer service solutions are becoming really key. And I think John briefly touched upon how easily using the same sentiment analysis we can create an powerful tool there. And I think we just touched upon one algorithm there. I am sure that we will have more APIs in the marketplace which can help generate better bots. And as you know, I think all the stores and in fact all the businesses are looking for enabling a chatbot for I think WhatsApp. They're having bot powered services for Facebook, and I think anywhere and everywhere, right? So then I think AI based marketing and sales enablement. So I think this has been key challenge. If you see this SMB which Sasi talked about, they do not have such big media spends and they do not run big campaigns. So I think if AI can help understand what customer segments the store or the SMB should target, then I think this will really be a big return for SMB. So that's a big play, and I think this is something which we are also looking forward to see as some hacks. Then intelligent CRMs, predictive cash flows, and predictive, not only predictive cash flows, we can have predictive store sales or store visits. So take an example that there is an hair salon, right? So based on the previous data or previous users information, we can create a very predictive model that during a day of time, how many customers are going to visit, how many customers going to visit during the weekend, during the holidays, so that as an small store owner, I can have the staff available to support that kind of uptake which might happen during holidays and other seasons. Then I think also business productivity solutions. So I think SMBs, again, they are small staffed, they do not have the strengths of an enterprise having multiple workforces, so they do multitasking, right? So I think one guy doing a lot of things, like somebody sitting at the reception might be doing visitor management, also managing the time entries. So the productive applications for these target audiences for SMB will also be something which we'll be looking for. And I think again, I think we'll call all the developers for our next SMB challenge. I think we are opening the registrations for this on 6th of April. Again, this is the global SMB challenge. The themes for which will be SMB productive apps, e-commerce enablement, post and pre-shipping services, international presence, and open innovation for SMB. So I think as you can see at the bottom, we have bunch of partners, and I think Algorithmia presented that they are you can use their promo code to get access to their APIs. I think almost double what they are offering. So I think that brings us to the end of our presentation, and we'll be taking question and answers. So I think question and answers we will take. You can type it in the question section, and I think we'll be open to answer that.
Thanks, Yashwan. Thanks, everyone. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free to type in your questions, and we are here to answer your questions. And if not, you can also email us, or drop us a message at developer@pb.com, and we'll be happy to answer all your questions.
All right, so we've got a question about the future of AI in terms of financial tech. And well, I don't know if I can tackle that in complete detail. I can definitely mention a few things there. One is that when people think of AI in terms of financial tech, a lot of times people think in terms of stock trading. And the thing about that is that most stock trading occurs extremely close to the actual trades. So you're talking in some cases nanosecond response times. So you really need to be on device and very local. And a lot of time that requires a really elite data set. So I don't think there's a lot of opportunity, as people seem to be under the impression, that you can drop in some AI from those downstream data streams that you're seeing that are seconds or minutes away from the actual stock trades and make any improvement or edge there that in practice doesn't tend to work. What you can do is you can start correlating external data sources with financial tech in an interesting way. You can look at some of the obvious stuff like what's happening in terms of quarterly reports and doing natural language analysis on them and starting to understand ahead of time that a company may be improving or tanking based on what you're seeing. I've heard of people doing things like taking call transcripts and running them in real time through AI for word recognition, for understanding, and trying to predict from that where their stock might go. And of course, there's general correlation between companies, things like looking at S1 reports, looking at real-time interactions with your own products and what customers are looking at or asking about in terms of other products and how those might relate as well. We've also got a request to look at some real-world examples built using Algorithmia. And I think I can take a minute there to actually just show you some demos, which might be even more instructive because I don't have to worry about any IP restrictions or anything of the sort. So if you could toss a presentation over to me, please, I will show off our demo gallery here. Alrighty, so this is, if you go to demos.algorithmia.com, that's the easiest shortcut to get here. And you can see some of the stuff we've done in real time. Certainly there's what's very popular, our image colorizer, a significant number of hits on our site are just people using this for the fun of it. And this is the thing I was demonstrating earlier where it's seen a bunch of images already. It hasn't seen these specific images, but it has seen similar images. And so it attempts to figure out automatic colorization of those images. And a lot of people just use this as a service. There's a couple of iOS apps out there where people can upload their images, get them colorized back, and we get a lot of people really saying, hey, this is awesome because I know I've got this photo from the 50s of my parents that I'd never seen in color before, and it really feels realistic, which is great. But there's some other really cool stuff here. So if I look at, say, time series analysis, that is a pretty nifty one. And what we did here was we went out and we got actual use permit applications and filings from various city data on Socrata Open Government. So this is basically going out to individual cities, finding out what construction permits have been filed at different times of the year in those cities. I can pick a particular city I want to look at, and then here's where the AI comes in. I can start running, for instance, outlier detection on that. I can run it through, say, a seasonality filter, or I can go and pull out a forecast smoothed out on that seasonal filter. So now I can really see over time, what do I expect the permitting in any given city to be? And I can use that to predict, in this particular case, when might be a good time to build, when might not be. But of course, you can use the same sort of thing on any data. And you can see that it's actually doing all of this in real time. It's actually taking that data and transforming it against our APIs, but then pushing it back into this front end so people can visualize what those results are going to be. And then lastly, I'll just show you a couple of cool video things. So for example, there is a car detection algorithm. This is one of our more niche ones. So this will tell you the make and model of a car. And the algorithm itself is set up to take an image and then give you an answer. What kind of car is this? But what we did is we hooked up a video stream to it. And because Algorithmia allows us to parallelize all of those calls, what I can now do is I can send into that algorithm all of the frames of this video simultaneously. So I take in the video, I split it into individual frames, individual images, and send all of those images to the same algorithm. But that processing runs in parallel, so it's very, very fast. And out of that, I can say, okay, at this point in time, when I aggregate the results back together, here's a Hyundai hatchback, and I can see the actual output from the algorithm right here. One thing to make note of is that with machine learning, any given data set's only as good as the data it's been trained on. So I can see down here, it says that there's a Citroen van. But if I click on that, what I find is that's actually a tram. Now, this particular machine learning model, if you go and you read about it, is a car make and model identifier. It knows nothing about trams. So it certainly makes its best guess, but it doesn't get it right. Fortunately, you can actually see that in the output. So it says the confidence is 0.08, which is very low. 1 would be perfect confidence. So this classifier is great for doing cars, not so good for anything else. Lastly, I want to show you the video transformer. So again, I said I can take a video, I can split it into frames, and then I can run an image algorithm on each frame. So here I'm going to run colorization on an entire video. So for every single frame, it's running it through the colorizer and assembling this video in real time for me to see the results of. Now I've got some flicker there. I would want to do some sort of interpolation between frames to smooth out the resultant video, but it does an okay job. It gets the skin colors right. It's got that classic keyboard beige, but I can do other things to these videos too. I can run it through, say, a saliency detector, which identifies the point in the image which would be of most interest to a human looking at them, which is usually to say animals, things moving, people's faces, etc. And I get this sort of heat map output of where each thing is that's moving around. So I think that's where I'll cut it with the basic demo stuff. And let me check back in to see if we've got more questions here. So we do have a question about running algorithms on the edge device. We do not do that. Right now, everything that we run actually occurs on Algorithmia's servers. So if you're, for example, offline, then that's not going to work out too well for you. But if you are online, even if you're on a relatively slow connection, we do have that 15 millisecond latency. So we find in practice that even for very fast real-time applications, we're actually able to execute quickly enough that people do not notice. And then lastly, there's a question about retraining. So I'm guessing this comes from a data scientist. And what we specialize in is algorithm hosting. We don't specialize in training. That said, there are 2 of our algorithms that do allow training, which I could really show you very fast. And what these are that we've built these algorithms so that they have 2 modes. They have a training mode and they have a prediction mode. So unlike many of our algorithms, when you actually send in a request, you declare in that request, hey, am I executing this as a training step or am I executing it as a prediction step? So I send in mode train along with my training data. I do that many times for my new inputs. And take note that I also assign it a specific namespace. And then later on, I can make a prediction against that same namespace and get a result. And we basically have 2 algorithms that do this. One is this document classifier, which allows me to take a bunch of documents and train it for specific results. So this might be, again, customer help chat. Customers send in a bunch of questions, and then in my chat tool, I have tagged those questions with, this was a question about product A, this was a question about product B, etc. I would send each of those chat contents and the tags that I've assigned them in as my training data. And then later on, when someone came along with a new chat request and they gave me some paragraph of text, I could send that in prediction mode, and it would give me back its best prediction of what keywords, what products that related to. So that's the document predictor. And the other one we have that I won't show here is the face classifier. Same kind of thing. I send it a bunch of images of faces with names associated with them in training mode. And then later on, I say switch to prediction mode. I send it a new face, and it gives me back its best prediction for what kind of face that is. We're getting pretty close to the end here, so I think I'm going to switch back to our presentation. Let me just do one quick last check for questions. Okay, and I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up there. So maybe my colleagues will want to do the closeout at this point.
Sure.
Shashi.
Yeah, is there a slide on the just talking about the hackathon? I just want to highlight that the one part that I should have talked about is our hackathon signups will start this Friday. The hackathon itself is global, so you'll have the opportunity to work alongside hackers and developers across the world. The one part that I didn't get to cover around this was the apps that get submitted through the hackathon can be monetized as well. So we do have an incubation program that allows winners from the hackathon to work closely with us and build out fully production apps that then go to our customers. We help with early market access as well as various models to be able to monetize that app, both from an IP point of view as well as actually running it as a business. So I do look forward to a whole lot of you registering, building apps with machine learning and artificial intelligence, and I look forward to seeing apps and winners from the set. So I'll stop there. All the very best, John. This was great. I haven't coded in a while, but I went back and signed up for Algorithmia, and I've just started to build my first app. And hope everyone who listened in is also doing that right now. Thank you so much. We'll see you all very soon.